All right, everyone, welcome back to Inherent Success Podcast, where this is your guide through self-discovery and healing journey, all about transformational stories. And it's all about having just amazing people share their story and how they became the people that they are today, the man and the woman that they are today. So on today's episode, I'm really excited because I have my good friend, Andrew Munroe, on today's episode. Andrew, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Emma. It is an honor and a privilege to be here.
Yes, I'm so excited, guys. Andrew is a transformational coach and a yoga teacher, but I actually met him through this amazing transformational process that I've been going through for the past 5 months, to be honest, since July, but it's just been an amazing process so far. Andrew is actually one of my coaches in the process, and yeah, that's pretty much how we've known each other, and he's a great person. So I'm excited to for you to share your story. How are you
I'm
feeling?
excited too. I feel fantastic. I'm ready to go
Yes, guys, and this is Andrew, like no caffeine. This is him all the time. I love it.
all the time. Why not? Why not be happy and energetic and joyful all the time? Because we can choose that. It's so simple. It's so easy.
Yeah, it's true. And a lot of times we make it complicated, right? It's like a simple choice of choosing the energy and choosing how you want to see things, choosing how you get to set the tone for the day and step in for the day as well.
Yeah, it sounds so simple, right? When you put it that way. And when someone's just like, just choose it. Just choose how you're going to feel. And just like anything else, it's a practice and it takes some time to master just being joyful all the time, no matter what is going on. So,
Hmm.
yeah, it's a process. It's like riding a bike, learning how to ride a bike, an instrument, a sport, whatever you can relate to.
Hmm. I agree, 100%. It's definitely a practice and something that once you start getting into because of your your conditioning, right? You getting into those type of practices of choosing your energy, being joyful, creating your own bubble of happiness. It's in the beginning it can be a little challenging because of your conditioning and how you were brought up, and it's just like creating that new pathway, right? That neural pathway of just like joy and happiness and like always feeling good about yourself, like no matter what the circumstances. But I mean, Andrew, you shared a huge chunk of your story with me before and our group as well. Um, I would love for you to kind of like tap into that because I know transformation is something that's very challenging and not a lot of people are willing to do and don't understand like the process of it. But how were you able to become who you are today, right? So like kind of like take us back to like where you're from and how Andrew became Andrew Munroe.
Oh my gosh. We'd have to go all the way back to April 19th, 1989 at 10 a.m. when I was cut from my mother's belly. In all honesty, that's where the story has started. But my journey in transformation and what led me into this space of transformation, that story goes a little something like this. I grew up in a very structured family. I grew up in a church. My father was a pastor. We were pastors' kids. I have two older sisters, and we grew up in the limelight, right? We grew up going to church every Sunday and Wednesday. We were the epitome of what a family should look like and move like on the outside. That's where it started, because on the inside, our family was not 100%, just like everyone in everyone's family, right? There's typically some trauma, some complicated relationships in my childhood. Really didn't learn emotional regulation or emotional intelligence because it was all just, let's just pretend that everything is okay. Everything was okay no matter what, because we got the Lord Jesus Christ on our back and we got a church watching our every move. So everything had to be perfect. And it wasn't. And that's just, being honest. Emotional trauma, sexual trauma, all of that existed in my life as a child. And I would say that was, setting the stage for what would land me where I am right here, right now. And as a 12-year-old, my parents separated, they divorced. My father came out of the closet as gay and left the church because he felt that it wasn't no longer in alignment. And from there, my entire life was flipped upside down from having so many rules to do this at this time. You can't do this. You can do this. You have permission to do this, not do that, to, a free for all. Essentially, we had no rules. My mother, primarily at this point, lost all control. And what does a 12-year-old, 13-year-old child do when all control is released? We rebel and we go all out and we start
Mm-hmm.
exploring life and figuring out what life is. And from the age of 12 to, the age of 27, 28 was my exploration years. As a young adult, 13 years old, I started exploring, smoking weed, doing drugs at parties at a very young age. And that became my life for many years throughout high school. And after high school, my life took a very dark turn. I'm a person that is, spent 12 years in active addiction with heroin. I had a love for opiates like none other. It was my, first true love. And I've come through this work, I've come to the realization that I went down that road. I chose that outlet because it was the only way that I knew how to deal with my emotions, right? As a kid, I never learned how to regulate my emotions. I learned how to shut them down, lie about them, pretend everything was honky dory, 100%, everything was fine. And then realizing everything wasn't fine, I found an outlet, which was drugs and partying, which shut my emotions off. And I was like, oh, I don't have to deal with my emotions if I don't have any. So,
Mm.
that led to some very, very, very dark days as, in my 20s, late 20s, many, many, many trips to rehab, to detox, to long-term care treatment, and a life of feeling uneasy and of angst and dis-ease and a lot of lying, cheating, stealing, apathy, anger, fear. You name it. My frequency was very low vibing for a long period of my life until I would say in 2018 was actually around this time of the year. I went into detox for the very last time, long-term treatment for the very last time, and I decided to bet on me for the first time in a very long time, go all in and receiving support, diving into transformation in, 12-step fellowships. And that is just the start of it, right? Because here we are now 8 years later, where I have found a new vehicle of transformation, which is like, in all honesty, the only vehicle of transformation that now exists in my life because it is that impactful and effective. But yeah, I would say that's the gist of my story of what landed me in transformation. I became a yoga teacher. That was another avenue of transformation that I decided to jump into. And yoga is a physical integration, right, of everything that we're learning, unlearning on the yoga mat. The way that I teach is really for that, to physically move, shift energy in and out of your body, because we keep that stuff stored. Our childhood, past lives, whatever you believe in, karmic cycle, our body does keep score. And one thing I've learned, that somatically releasing the energy, the frequency of anger, guilt, fear, shame, apathy is really the only true way. is really the only true way to get to a point where you can even decide to choose joy or happiness, right? Like we talked about in the beginning. Because if you tried to tell me, Emma, when I was dope sick, trying to find my next high, and you were just like, just choose joy, just choose happiness, right? That would not have, that would not have been effective for me in that time frame. I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready. Transformation, you full body get to be ready.
Yeah, I agree. And not a lot of times people are ready. You know, it's they're looking at the mirror and they're faced with those challenges. They're faced with that, okay, those moments of I am not okay, but am I really ready to transform? So I guess my question would be is, and thank you for sharing that, is what was that pivotal moment for you? That pivotal moment of like, holy fucking shit, like I'm not going anywhere. I don't feel okay. Like if I keep doing this, it's not going to end very well. And also your advice to support the people that are truly suffering, but don't really know where to go or are afraid of change or just afraid or just super avoidant of the process.
Yeah, so I would say that I personally have had many moments, right? They say rock bottom. And I mean, you don't have to be a drug addict, an alcoholic, or, experience massive trauma to hit rock bottom. I'm definitely a stubborn one. And, I thought I hit rock bottom many times and I just kept digging. You can, you can always go deeper. And I would say that it was like, for me, it was a collective of moments. There was a major car crash at the end, when I decided to get clean for the last time, that really was a wake up call for me. I could have severely injured other people on the road because I fell asleep in my car on the highway and rear-ended a car and pushed that car clear off the road. So we could say that that was a moment, but it really was a collective of moments, right? It was a collective of moments that finally had me say, like, I'm not dead yet, and there are many times where I could have been, and enough was enough. And I mean, really though, stepping into transformation, the pain definitely gets to become great enough for you to continuously make a new choice. Because like you said, transformation is challenging. People don't want to look in the mirror and take radical responsibility and leave victim mindset, because victim is so easy. Oh, I'm this way because of my parents.
Mm,
Oh, I'm this way because of what happened to me as a kid. And when we choose that story, we then make excuses for our behaviors, right? We'll use anger. I'm angry because of what happened to me as a kid and because my parents didn't love me the way that they were supposed to, and they did not teach me emotional intelligence as a kid, right?
right.
If I don't take full ownership of what happened to me and I'm a victim, then I'm angry because of my parents. And there's no growth from there. And I mean, and fill in the blank with whatever works for you. But we get to come to this space of full awareness that, like, I am solely responsible for the life that I'm creating. No matter what has happened in the past, I own it. I am responsible for it. And I am responsible for my emotional regulation post it, right? Whatever trauma, whatever abuse, all of that. I am responsible for ridding my body of any anger, fear, guilt, shame, whatever that trauma brings up for someone. I am responsible for that, because at the end of the day, no one has the power to impact me or trigger me or cause me to be angry unless I choose into that. Now, that is baffling for some people because they just want to cling to the victim. Well, this person
Right.
touched me as a child. It's their fault that I'm messed up in the head. And like, yes and no, right? Yes,
Mm,
something happened to you as a child, as an adult, and we're still responsible for it. This is the thing. If you want to get to a space of unconditional love for yourself and of others, and I choose joy and I choose happiness and I choose energy, and you want that to be an easy choice for you, there's no other path but to take full responsibility for how we're showing up in this world. Now, as far as like advice goes, right? I'm a big fan of just like jumping into things, right? You know, both feet, 2 feet at once, like you're jumping off a cliff and just going for it. And not everybody lives like that. Not everybody wants to jump into like that. But my advice is like, you got to do it. You get to do it. You can't sit, you can't sit and have a conversation about the world that we live in, about the world and how crazy it is, politics, you can enter whatever you want to talk about, unless you can be in full responsibility of what you're doing to be in ownership to change that,
Mm-hmm.
right? So like, if I'm going to talk about how angry the world is, I get to be responsible for my own anger, because if I'm an angry person, I'm contributing to the anger in this world. If I'm a sad person and I'm continuously choosing to just remain sad, um, or choose into reliving the past, depression, anxiety, all of that, and then I blame the world for me being that way. Again, back to personal responsibility, is I get to clean up my anxiety, my whatever has me feeling depressed, whatever has me feeling angsty or uneasy, so that I can then project that into the world. We live in a world where people just want to blame everyone for everything. It was, this
Agree.
president or that president or this stranger or this family member.
The
So my
economy,
advice,
the
yeah,
healthcare, and all
this,
the
the sky is blue. It's raining today. You know what I
yeah,
mean? My car got a flat tire. We live in a world where like everyone's like, everything's happening to me.
to me,
When
yeah.
like all actuality, like everything's happening for us perfectly. Like it's, it is life is fun. Life is really fun when you get to the point where you see it for what it is, right? When you have that emotional intelligence and like you can focus on what is actually happening in your body and respond the most empowering way, versus just getting angry and then responding out of anger, because then you're just contributing to the anger in this world and in your immediate circle. It ripples out. Everything has a ripple effect.
I agree. And to piggyback on what you were saying about life is happening for you instead of to you, that's to be honest, that's kind of like where I'm at right now. And I question things sometimes like, why is this happening? Like, why is this happening? But it's life is perfectly designed for you because it's also, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's also like the energy that you're putting out, it's your journey. Like it's happening to you for a reason because there's a lesson in there. Everything that happens, there's always a lesson to get out of it. And then also to share about, because there's something, and I talk about this all the time, right? It's like when it comes to self-development and then the healing journey, at least for me, when I started my self-development journey, it was like when I was 22, I started my first business venture and I was reading all these books. I started listening to Jim Ron. He was I still listen to him to this day. Every morning I put him on YouTube and I listen to, because he's great. Like everything that he explains, it's so simple, but yet so impactful and so powerful. It's all the philosophies of life, simple stuff that people just can't, either don't want to learn or just can't grasp, but it really is the fundamentals to life. So I listen to him to this day. But that's how I was. I was just like this personal development junkie, listening to podcasts. Well, back then there weren't really podcasts, but there were just YouTube. It was just YouTube. So I was doing all the audios and reading all the books, going to all of the seminars, and just getting all of this advice. But I didn't know how to heal. I thought in my mind that, okay, I'm becoming this new person. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to shove all of my past in a little box and kick that shit to the ocean. That was my mentality. I thought, no, forget about my past. I don't need to heal. I'm not addressing any of that. But it was interesting because as I was getting older, I would get triggered and certain things from my past would hold me back. So, from making more money or, getting into a relationship. I had a lot of attachment styles, like meeting guys and dating guys and all these things. And I kept getting all of these waves of like depression and just like not feeling like I'm enough. And I couldn't figure out why. So that's when I finally decided to get into therapy in 2019. And then that's when I started like, the inner child work, like really healing those wounds. So what is your input on, the difference between being self-aware and healing and then self-development and being like a self-development junkie?
I've done it all. I've, right, just like you. I mean, there are so many books out there. There are so many podcasts out there. And see, we like to trick ourselves, right? We love, because I did it. And no, I'll speak for myself. In the past, I would read the books, listen to the podcasts, never really do like the journaling prompts or any exercise that a book or podcast would ever request of me, because I thought, well, this is transformation. I'm just going to read books and I'm just going to listen to podcasts and go to weekend warrior seminars, and I'm going to download this information intellectually, and I'm going to heal and I'm going to be healed. And a huge population of the world absolutely believes that we can just listen to books, audibles, whatever form of transformation. We can meditate for 3 hours a day, or do a bunch of plant medicine, and just, in my mindset now, looking back, like, it's all avoidance. It truly is a level, for me, it was a level of avoidance,
No, I agree.
because the work of transformation lives in the body. It lives in somatic releasing, right? You can read a book all day long about trauma, but if you are not in a space, in a community that is actively, forcing the trigger out of you for you to deal with in real time, you're going to continue to be triggered for whatever reason. And if you're not in that moment integrating what you're learning, which most people do not, because we're not triggered at a rapid speed for us to actually make a new choice, it'll just happen like once a week, and we're not actively making new choices. It's not, you go nowhere. So we have a world of people that read books and listen to podcasts, and that's it. Is that a beautiful source to get started in understanding of the lingo of energy and frequency and what is actually happening in our bodies when we are removing trauma? Sure, 100%. That is where my journey started, was books, in podcasts. And then what I've learned to be true is that you physically get to shift the energy in your body, trauma, whatever it is that's standing in your way of getting to a point where you're like, I'm able to choose joy every single day, no matter what. You get to do some physical somatic work along with the podcasts and the books and the coaching, right? It's transformation is work until the day that we die, right? It is not something that has a destination. And that's the other thing that kind of screws us up sometimes as humans, is we think that we're going to get to this certain point and we're going to be like, I'm healed. And like, yes and no, the work must continue. So you get to be in a space where you are rigorously being challenged, whether that's therapy, whether that's one-on-one coaching, whether that's, a community that is holding you to a higher frequency or standard, whether that's, emotional intelligence containers, which is how we met, which is by far, having done everything that you could possibly think of in the world of transformation, the most effective tool that anybody could use, because, right, you're put in those triggering situations and environments on repeat. So you're actually able to integrate a new decision, a more empowering one, so that you then can take that into your life. This is multifaceted practice. It's not just read a book, it's not just podcast, it's everything. And it boils down to like, you get to be willing to fight for yourself at the end of the day, because no one's coming to save you. No one's coming to
Yeah.
save me. There's no, I wish there was a magic fix. Being in this work of transformation and coaching people, I wish I could just be like, boop, and have you have the realizations that you will one day have, and this world could experience healing on a massive level much quicker. But that's not, that's not the case. Like you said, like the universe and everything that happens for us versus to us. I mean, in a space right here, right now, looking back on my life and every trauma that was inflicted on me, or I inflicted, or the years and addiction of lying, cheating, stealing, and living a very unsavory life. Now being in transformation, having been around many different people in my life, like I am now able to have conversations with essentially every single person that exists in this world, because I've seen it all. I've been through it all. So it's like, go me. Like in my mind, I'm like, yes, go me for walking through everything that I walked through, because now I'm on the other side and I can show people that there literally is like a pathway out. Like raising your vibrational frequency as a human being on an energetic level, which takes place in like the body's physical and spiritual body, is the way out. It's like when you focus on just that, everything else begins to melt away. So it's like when you just hone in and focus on increasing your frequency as a human, right? This is, a little bit of woo woo and a lot of science. David Hawkins
Yeah.
is a fabulous man that truly, through kinesiology, identified and calibrated different frequencies from anger all the way to enlightenment. And if the journey just becomes focused on increasing that frequency so that you're operating out of love and neutrality and surrender and ease and flow, everything else works itself out, right? We think that I had this one trauma, I got to get to work on just that. Sure. But if we just focus on the one pathway of the work of increasing your, again, vibrational frequency, everything begins to melt away. And there's no better way to do that than in a highly pressurized container of emotional intelligence that is the definition of a quantum leap, jumping frequencies.
I agree. I agree. And a lot of people are very, I've been having, as you know, like I've been having a lot of conversations with different people, and like deep conversations about them and their life and what they want to create and all these things, but there are just certain things that are holding them back, right? Um, a lot of people are afraid of change. It's like it's very interesting to see. I mean, I've always been very observant, right? I've always been like the type of person. I love to people watch, but like in a positive way. Like I just think, I wonder why this person's so angry. Wow, this person is actually has an attitude. I wonder what they're going through. Oh my God! Like I just see them as like a little wounded child. Whoever's listening or watching, I'd be like, what the fuck does she mean? But it really is true. I just see them like, oh, like they're a wounded child, and something that this container has taught me a lot is that people are people, and there's always they're going through something. There's something about them. They're always going through something, and every single person has that. They were once that little person, right? They were once that child, their younger selves. So I see, like, whenever I see someone act a certain way, I'm just like, like I wonder what they've been through. Like I wonder, maybe they're having a bad day. Maybe they're just their life is just not going their way. But people are just really uncomfortable about change and transformation, or they're very avoidant and go through all of these coping mechanisms, right? So like for some people it could be sex, for some people it can be drugs, partying, all these things. I know for me, like I went through a phase where I was super avoidant. I just wanted to numb everything. And I realized before I got into this container, I was doing a lot of like coping mechanisms and a lot of avoidance because I got into bodybuilding and I worked like 10, 11 hours a day. So I've always been in my masculine, and the way that I was wired was just like, I gotta do in order to have everything that I want. And then once I have everything that I want, I get to be who I want to be. I get to be happy and joyful and all this stuff. So I've been doing things like all scrambled, right? Like the complete opposite. But anyways, like, yeah, like a lot of people are just very avoidant in the work and avoidant in just like really, I call it dark work because essentially that's what it is. And I love people too, and just seeing the world and the way that the world is conditioned to hate on each other and just be so angry. Even if you're like talking to someone or you go someone up to say hi or have a conversation, people are already like, what are you trying to sell me? Like, what are you trying to, like, for example, I put a post on Facebook, like different groups of Sarasota, and I'm literally just trying to make friends. Like, and just sharing in my post my experience, like my mindset so far with connecting with people. I'm like, I wrote, I'm in this emotional intelligence program. It's made me realize that like it's changed my mindset, but a lot of my friends are uncomfortable, they don't understand me. I would love to connect. So automatically, when I wrote emotional intelligence program, they're like, scam, pyramid. And I'm just like, wow, like it's so interesting how people work sometimes. Yeah, yeah. All right, guys, we'll get right back into the episode. I just wanted to take a quick break here to share with you guys that I do not make any money on this podcast. My goal and my purpose with Inherent Success is to be that guide for individuals in their self-discovery journey. So if you found any value in this episode, make sure to like, to subscribe. And if you know anyone that could benefit from the episode or the podcast overall, you can share with a friend as well. Now, let's get back into it.
People, you just said a lot of things. People want to avoid the pain. People want to avoid the responsibility. People truly want to avoid the fact that we are very powerful. And I feel like there is a big majority of people that don't believe how powerful they actually are. So when you say what you think about the most is what you attract, people are like, oh no, I don't have that power. Or the conversation, like you just said, the main conversation of humans, let me make more money, then I will have the houses and the kids and the dog and all of those things, and then I will be happy. And right in this work, it's the be, do, have. As humans, we love to just do, have, and then hopefully will be, right? It is literally what we are indoctrinated into with going to college, right? I graduate high school. I go to college. I get a degree. I do the school. I then do the work, right? Say I'm a doctor. I do the work as a doctor. And then any 9 to 5 job where I then retire at 65, 75, whatever age. And then I will enjoy my life. Right? So we can see how this mindset and what has been, basically trained into every single one of us, that I go to school, I go to college, I work for 50 years, and then I spend the last 20 years of my life not working and enjoying life. And I say, F that crap. Like, no, I am 35 years old, and I have lived a life that has been very uncomfortable, and I'm here to be happy now and design my life now how I want it to look. Not wait until I'm 70. My bones be creaking, my joints be locking up at that time. Who knows? if I'm, I'm not, you're not as agile as you are at a young age versus adults. So it's like, and then people say, like, just to touch on the point where, like, you post a post about emotional intelligence program and people are like, scam, fraud, trying to sell something. And it's like, you could ask any of those people if they went to college or went to school after high school, and you could have the same conversation, because that's the conversation that I would have with people. Because I think college and going to school, if you truly want to do it, sure, you want to be a doctor, go help everyone, amazing. But please understand it for what it is. It's the biggest scam in the world.
Oh, absolutely.
Go to school for hundreds of thousands of dollars. You'll be in debt until the day that you die. And hopefully you'll be able to retire by the time you're 70 and enjoy the last 15 years of your life not working and living it by design. When the more effective way, right? Be, do, have. We focus on ways of being, right? Choosing into joy, choosing into happiness, choose into raising my vibrational frequency now, not as a 75-year-old. And then in doing so, I then get to do what is authentically fires me up for me, right? Transformation. You can see my eyes bugging out of my head. Like, this stuff, this transformation just fires me up, because people just don't even understand how you can physically, mentally, spiritually feel when you absolutely clean house and clean it all out. Like, I am on fire 24/7, and this is my natural state of being. And whoever's watching this, you like, I don't believe there's a person out there that could look at the way that I live my life and how I energetically feel and say, I don't want that. And that is the conviction that I have in this work. Everybody, every human wants to feel at ease in their most authentic bodies, because when we're able to do so, nothing else matters. People talk about you on social media, in your face, big whoop, right? Something happens in your life. You're like, oh, well, I'm going to choose happiness. Get a flat tire. Yes, I choose happiness. I choose joy. And it's like, it's not a perfect system, right? It's not we're human. I still have moments where, I freak out for a little bit, a little breakdown, breakthrough action happening. Like, I'm human,
Yeah.
and there's
Yeah.
there's still things that there are still triggers that I am uncovering. Fun little story. I'm going to share this with you because it happened the other day
Yeah.
in this process, right? And there was a situation where I was triggered by another person, because they ways of being are powerful, confident, courageous, worthy, whatever you want to call it. And I somatically was looking at that as like bulldozing, bullying, just the way that this person was operating. And somatically, because I was highly triggered, this was like a week ago, heavily triggered. I was heavily triggered. And I took a sit back, whatever, took a breath. I took a breath and was able to quickly, much faster than in the past, look at what was somatically happening in my body. And I was being
Mm.
triggered to when I was a kid in middle school, being bullied by a bully, not being heard, not being understood, being different because everybody knew I was gay before I did. Right. I was somatically experiencing this trigger in my body, and it had nothing to do with this individual that triggered me, right? This had to do with something that happened to me as a kid. But in my full responsibility through this work, having this awareness, having these tools that we gain in this process,
Mm-hmm.
I was able to sit with that, shift it, somatically release it from my body, obviously clean space with the person that I thought was a bully and a bulldozer, because that's my responsibility, and see it for what it was. I was, you know what I mean? Scared little boy. And it's like when we're triggered into those energies, yes, we can release them. But if I were to make decisions, of which I did, because I sent some text messages that just weren't so nice, that was a decision that I made in that triggered state. It was not really effective. And it was not,
Hmm.
it didn't go the way that I wanted for it to go, obviously. And the world is operating out of a triggered state right now, and no one knows how to actively challenge and navigate their emotions. It's just, I'm triggered, you trigger me, you need to change.
Mm-hmm.
You don't respect my political view, you need to change and you're triggering me. It's a victim. The whole I don't know when it happened. It probably happened when we stopped spanking our kids. Everyone became a victim. I was beaten with a belt, with a wooden spoon. I turned out
Oh
perfectly
my God.
fine.
I got my ass whooped. When I tell my son all the time, I go, "You are lucky, little boy," because my parents, there was no emotion. We did not talk about our feelings. You're crying, you like I would hurt myself doing something, and my mom would come and slap me. Like I'm just like, I'm gonna hurt. Like, what did I do? Like it was just very interesting. Like the type of, I mean, it's interesting. We're only like 2 years apart, but we kind of like grew up in the same era, same time. It like I mean, I have a Hispanic background. Like I'm Latina, so I grew up like talking about our feelings is just not a thing. If you express your feelings to my family, to my mom, and you would cry, you automatically have issues. You automatically have problems. We need to take you to a psychiatrist. You need to be sent away. There's something wrong with you. My parents wanted to send me to like a military school because they just couldn't control me. They didn't know what was wrong with me. I had my mom sent me to a therapist when I was like 11 years old. And the therapist like, oh, she seems fine. And my mom's like, no, there's something wrong with her. Just because I just felt like so, and I know I'm kind of like going left here, but just kind of like to emphasize on that. It's just very interesting how this generation is because it was tough growing up. We couldn't share our feelings. And then like being whooped and I don't know, like just I tell my son all the time, I'm like, you are lucky because I got my ass beat from my mom and my dad. But I do agree with you on that, on the victim thing. And just like how you said earlier, being a victim is something that's so easy. It's something that's easy, it's not hard. And like what you said, people don't want to take ownership. And I'm human too. I experience moments, and sometimes I do get out of character like yourself. But what I love so much about this work that we're doing, especially this work that we're doing, and just any kind of work, healing work, right? Like somatic work. What I love about it is integration and how we're able to receive these tools, be supported and held accountable to integrate all of these tools into our life. And I was, telling my boyfriend this morning, I'm like, this process is so different because you can do somatic work anywhere. You know what I mean? You can go through this a process that is extremely healing, and not to bash any other process, but I've never seen a process where it's just all about integration and all about like, okay, you started this journey, right? And you're level 1 and level 2, and I'll just throw it out there, right? You're figuring out so much about yourself, and then you learn you have all these tools. Now you got to go out on the field. We've been on the fields, you know. So right now I'm on the field and I'm putting all of it to practice, and it's literally a game because I'm practicing this game of life, and that's literally what I've been playing right now. And I'm so grateful for this process because, there have been moments where I've been super triggered, but now I have these tools. And like you said, it's like, okay, what am I feeling in this moment? Like, am I going to react or am I going to respond to this moment that's like going on with me right now, this triggering ass moment? Like, for example, I'll share a very vulnerable example today in the gym. For those of you guys that don't know, like I had my bodybuilding journey last year. I competed from January to December, did 4 intense shows, prepped back to back. I was a small person. I was weighing from 125 to 130 pounds the entire year. And I saw myself really small and lean and fit. I am fit still, but just small and lean the entire
Yes, you
year.
are.
Yes, yes, I am. Um, but I right now I'm thicker than a Snicker right now. Like I have like cellulite. Like I have yes, like I'm very curvy. I'm not vascular. So when I look at other women in the gym and I see like their legs and like they're very lean and all this stuff, I start comparing myself. So and then I feel like I'm not enough, I'm not worthy. All these stories start popping up in my mind, but what I'm so grateful for is that now I have these tools in my back pocket that I can whip out and I can be like, huh, okay, like what am I feeling right now? This is not my truth. Like this is not who I am. You know, it's just little Emma that when she was growing up, she felt like she wasn't enough. She felt like she was not worthy. She was picked on. She was bullied. She was abused, all of these things. But that's an old story. And I know my truth and I know who I truly am. It's not my past. So I share that too because, yeah, like it just ultimately what it comes down to is just like this work is so healthy and it's so transformative. But a lot of people are avoidant of it and they're not willing to do the work. And yeah, yeah. And I would love for you to share, Andrew, like what, as you got into your transformational process, right? So what really got you to wanting to be a transformational coach and coach people and lead them to the way of transformation and healing?
I mean, many reasons. I mean, because this is so much fun. I mean, I've said it before, like what supporting someone in this journey is by far the most rewarding thing I have ever done. And I have done a lot of things. I have created a lot of businesses. I have worked many different jobs. I used to be a nurse, used to be a personal trainer, right? Did the whole bodybuilding thing like you for a couple years. Like I have done a lot of different things. And I keep coming back to transformation. I keep coming back to different layers of it, right? Because even at this point in my journey, right? Like I've been in the field for almost 2 years now. Integrating all of this work and staying in this work is that like it just keeps being revealed to me that this is my journey, this is my path. Like getting in the trenches with people one on one in groups in this, and then this container of emotional intelligence transformation. You're outside of it one on one because like that's what people need. We don't. I mean, we're doing a podcast right now, and I'm not going to say people don't need more podcasts, right? Because they are information and they're beautiful information, but we got to stop planning to plan. I feel like reading books and listening to podcasts is just like the planning stage, right? We get to just get out there. We just got to get our hands dirty. We got to get our feet dirty. We got to be willing to get really uncomfortable. And that's truly what lights me up. Head to toe conviction that this is my path, this is my journey. Starting with coaching people one on one, learning to facilitate trainings in this process of transformation. And one day, like my outcome, my goal, my vision is to speak on stages because I could just have so much fun on a stage. And we'll one
I
day
could see you
we'll be
doing
on
that.
I will be on a stage together. Yeah, I just like picture myself with like a mic just like rolling around, like maybe doing some yoga. I don't know, just sitting down and having a conversation with people just like this to like let people know that like this is possible, that a life worth living is possible. And yes, it's going to require you being challenged. It's going to be challenging. It's going to be difficult. It's not going to always be sunshine and rainbows and glitter farts. Like it's just, you get to be willing to, I feel like I have physically turned myself inside out numerous times. And again, Not many people will be willing to do that. One, they're scared of change, right? Which is basically just being scared of owning their power and being in responsibility. If we're scared of change, we're aware that something gets to change, we're therefore avoiding responsibility, therefore we're a victim. If we are avoiding responsibility, we are in a victim story. Oh, it's not my job. It's not my job
Mm.
to be happy every day. I'm an angry person. It's not my job to treat people nicely because people haven't been nice to me, right? Avoiding responsibility, therefore we're victim. Victim, 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 victim. Right? It's so crazy and people are just like, I'm not a victim. It's the human, oh God, this journey of life and humans are so funny. We're so funny. If you really look at us, we're so funny. Like you
That's
sharing
true.
that story and sharing the story in the gym. A vulnerable share, and thank you for sharing that. But and if you like take your step back and like look at that, right? Look at comparing yourself to somebody else at the gym. Like how funny is that? Like
Yeah.
what we choose, that's what you chose to do at the gym with your time working on your fitness. You're like, I'm gonna choose to judge myself because all of these women are now 8% body fat and I was once there, right? Attachment to our past. I was once there. I get it. I've been 4% body fat and you could wash clothes on my abs. And I'm also a little thicker than a snicker right now. And like my body's happy. My body isn't, I move my body every day, but my body's happy. And it's that comparison, right? Comparison is the thief of joy.
Hmm.
What I want people
Hmm.
to know is that this is so simple. This work is challenging, but like it is so simple. It is really so simple because we're presented at every moment with two choices. That's it. Two choices. On one hand, you have a life living in your vision and what you want to create. Or the other hand, you have a life basically running from all of the things that you want to create because you have fear, right? Vision or fear. Empowering, disempowering. There's only ever those two choices. So I don't know about you, having only two choices is pretty simple to me. Because when you give me more than two choices, I'm like, I don't know which is the right one. And then I can spend all day just fantasizing about what choice I should make. And it's like, if there's only two choices, option A, option B, it makes things so simple. So
Hmm.
simple.
Hmm. I agree. Yeah. But sometimes people want to have one foot here and one foot here and think that they can rise up and think that they can elevate their life and go to the next level by still holding on to the lack and the barriers and all of these things that are holding them back from really living their truest potential, like up to their what they want to create in their life, like you said, like the vision and what makes them happy and all of these things that they want to create. It's like, yes, like maybe in their mind they want to do it, but energetically they're still over here. But and that's okay. Like it's gonna take time. It's gonna take practice. But the only way you're gonna be over here is if you're willing to let go all of this bullshit that's over here. That's no longer serving you.
Everything. Everything. You have to be willing to turn yourself inside out and come into a space with neutrality that I know nothing. I know absolutely nothing. And that's a very humbling space to be, walking into a room in full body being like, I know nothing, because that is the only way that you're able to receive information and actually utilize it. If we walk around this world of, I know better, I know what I should be doing, it's like, okay, why aren't you? First of all, we're having a conversation
Hmm.
about you not living in your vision and you not being there yet, but you know everything and you know what you should be doing. Why aren't you doing it? So it's
Hmm.
it's like
Hmm.
when we actually, right, these are teachings that have been around for centuries. I mean, Buddha, Krishna, like all of these deities that once, Jesus Christ, right, God, all of these deities or whatever we call a god, the teachings from enlightened beings have all been the same. You must be willing to be a student of life every second of the day. There's no room for ego. There's no room for I know better. There's no room for I know what I should be doing. It's there's no space for it. If we think that we know what's best, transformation and change cannot occur. It can't. It absolutely cannot occur.
Yeah, I agree. What is your input on, someone said this to me the other day and I was like, interesting. I don't think that exists, but what is your input on hitting a plateau? Like, is there such thing as hitting a plateau in the process of transformation, always wanting to grow? Like, do you think that's more of, I would love your opinion. Do you think that's more of like maybe being tired of the work, maybe they're not getting something out of it, or it's just like the same repetitive thing, but they're not having their own, like, I guess you can say, experience of reaching the next level yet because maybe that certain thing hasn't been, or what they're doing is not working? Like, what do you think about
Mhm.
hitting a plateau?
From everything that I know to be true now, it's risk avoidance. It's avoiding risk because the only way that we change and grow, and I don't really believe in, I don't know, it's like people with weight plateaus. It's like I'm at a plateau. I don't it's why does there have to be a name for it? Why I live in the mindset of like, why does everything need to be identified? Maybe it is just a moment in your life for some stillness. And if you're looking for the next level, then risk has to be present, right? Well, I'll speak for myself. I want to speak on stages. I want to talk to people. I want to coach people. If I just sit here and be like, my clients are going to come to me and that's that. And I'm just going to wait for them. And a couple weeks go by and I have no clients or no new clients, or I haven't spoken on a stage yet or impacted millions of lives, right? What's missing? The action, the risk, me getting on this podcast with you and sharing all that I am, continuing to risk and having conversations with people, letting them know what I'm up to, what I'm committed to causing and creating, what my vision is, right? That's risk. I know I come off as very confident, and I am, and worthy and all of those things, but I have moments where I'm like, I don't want to talk to people. I mean, there was a time where getting on a
Mm.
podcast, this would scare me half to death. I'd probably be there's I would be sweating. There's no and it's hot in here. There's no sweat in my armpits right now. Like there was a time where like I would be drenched in sweat from head to toe because I was just so nervous, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
what are the people gonna think watching this? They're gonna think that he's a lunatic. I am. Right? They're gonna pass judgment. They're gonna think he doesn't know what he's talking about. Who would want to be led by him, right? And that just doesn't exist in my body anymore. It really doesn't. It truly
Mm.
doesn't. So it's like I don't really believe like if I can do it, you can. I despise that saying because it's not true. Just because I have walked through the fire and have gotten to where I'm at today does not mean that you can. It truly doesn't. If I mean,
Mm.
you're committed and fully on board, sure you can. But I stopped saying that because that was like my MO for, well, I can do it, so can you. And it's like we've been talking about the human condition. People, you know what I mean? Again, I did it for many years. I just wanted to stay stuck. I wanted to know and to say that I knew everything. I was self-righteous, egotistical maniac. Like I knew it all. I knew the right way on how to do anything. And like, fun fact, I didn't. And I finally decided to throw my hands up and be like, help me, universe. And like, this is where it's landed me, right? Having this conversation with you. It's all divine guidance. If I had not gone through universe and deliver what happened for me up until this very point, we would not be having this conversation.
Yeah. Yeah,
It
I
wouldn't be
agree.
happening.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I think that your story is just so amazing, but it's true what you say that not a lot of people are willing to go all in and give it that level 10 of full effort. And it's interesting. I used to say that phrase too, like if I can do it, you can do it too. But now I'm thinking about it. But it came from a place of like I want this so bad for people. Like it's like I see so much for you. I want this so fucking bad for you. But just sometimes people just don't want to go all in, or they're not ready, or they just want to do like baby steps. Like for me, I'm the same way as you. Like anything I do, I give it to the max of my ability. Like I don't leave anything in the tank. That's what I do with my bodybuilding, you know?
Yeah, and it's like we're rising, right? We're Ben, back to the energetics. We're increasing our frequency. Like we want to do this with people, right? I want the whole world to be as happy as I am. I want the whole world to be as joyful as I am. I want the whole world to heal whatever they desire to heal. But it's like I can't want it more for you than you want it for yourself. Now I am willing,
Mhm.
right? I got a lot of energy and I am willing to pour my energy into someone if they're committed, coachable, and ready to go. And I know that it makes take some time for someone to be 10 out of 10, what 10 out of 10 is on their level, right? And that can be worked with. But it's like if you resist it, yeah, it's that's what keeps our vision, right? That's what keeps my vision. A world, honestly, my biggest vision is that one day, and this will be past the point that I have, left this earth, but like one day a baby can be born and grow up and all that baby knows, he or she, is love, is unconditional love. There is a world that doesn't exist with war and anger and fear and generational trauma because enough people decided to own their shit and heal and make a new path. And I'm
Mhm.
going to be part, you know what I mean? I want to be, it's like you're part of the problem or you're part of the solution. You can't have both, right? Option A, option B. Vision, fear. Solution, problem. Empowering, disempowering. Only two options, and you're always choosing into one of the two. Always.
I agree 100%. And it, I mean, hopefully, I do believe that this world will come to a point where it's just more loving and more joy and a lot more peace, where there's no war or anything like that. I really do believe one day the world can come into that. And it sounds so corny and cheesy, and probably people that are listening are like, what the fuck? I don't think so. That's not going to happen. That's just being in La La Land.
Who
But I do think
cares?
so. Yeah. Yeah, no, I no,
who
yeah.
who cares? I'd rather be a maniac on a mission for healing and vision and have people be like, what is he on? He's definitely, on something. And it's like I had coffee at 5 a.m. this morning, half a cup of coffee, right? I would rather have someone be like, wow, he is absolutely crazy versus, right, playing small and not contributing to the vision of healing. So like I say, screw everyone. If you want to be on this journey with me, let's go. If you want to judge me, have fun. But like I'm gonna continue going no matter what, right? Just like you, it's like that's the mentality, that's the frequency, the conviction that people in this work get to embody. And it takes some time. It it takes some time, right? People, it's the comparison. People will look at, it's so funny. People will look at me now and will give me feedback and give me compliments and praise me for the way that I show up, the way that I speak, the way that I hold myself. And I always just remind them, always. And I will always receive that feedback and acknowledgement, but I always just remind them. It's like there was a point in my life where I was living out of a car, lying, cheating, stealing, had a needle in my arm multiple times a day couldn't string two sentences together without, the ums or the other weird things that people say when they start getting nervous. There was a point in my life where that was me. So thank you for the acknowledgement. Thank you for the praise and the compliments. And also know that I only speak this way and carry myself this way because I practiced. And that's what people forget. It's like
Hmm.
we forget, right? You in the gym, how funny. You know exactly what it takes to have the human body look the way the woman looked that you were judging yourself on, right? You've done it. You've gone down that road, right?
Right.
And then we still choose to compare. And you're just like, I'm not in that lane right now. I'm not doing those crazy things to obtain my body to look like that, right? But we still judge. Like, how funny is that? It's so
Yeah.
funny. It's like we don't judge like a pro basketball player or football player when they're, learning to be a pro, right? When they're in practices, we don't sit there and judge what their journey. We forget about the journey of people. We just praise or tear down where they are once they start gaining attraction or fame or publicity. It's like you have no idea what people go through. And just like you do the practice, like when you stare at people, that this just pops into my head. I do the same thing. I stare at people all day long and I'm like, I wonder what they have gone through in their lives up until this very point. And
Yeah.
I'm always like, I wonder what they're thinking right here, right now.
Yeah. Yeah. I literally do the same thing. I'm like, I wonder why they look so sad or they're angry or why do they have their head down? Why are they sitting alone? All of these things. I literally ask myself that question, but it's very interesting what I also ask myself too, like before, I not before, but when I'm in that comparison, just to kind of like touch on that a little bit and then we can move on to the next subject. But in the whole comparison thing, um, when I compare myself to someone in the gym, I also don't know their story. I literally tell myself that I'm like, I don't know this person's story. What if they have extreme body dysmorphia? What if they were, 100 pounds overweight and they got to that point? Like, good job for her. And that's something that I've been training my mind in the gym because you just honestly, you just don't know what people are going through. You really don't. Um, so that's another tool that I have in my back pocket of just like having that compassion for people. And like, yes, they're like that, but I don't know where they started. I can't compare myself to from, someone my chapter 5 or whatever. I'm having like chapter 10. I've been trained for a long time, but like to someone's chapter 20. I don't know, just a little silly example, but yeah, like when you that's a good tip. Like if you're comparing yourself to someone that's extremely successful or excelling or whatever, um just know that they started somewhere just like yourself, like what you mentioned in back then you were not this person that you are today. It took so much practice, it took so much work, like you have reps in you. So people can judge you a certain way, but they don't know where you came from. So that's something that I always tell myself whenever I meet someone or I'm out and about and like I encounter with someone. It's like I really don't know what this person's going through or what they went through to get there.
We never know.
Yeah.
Unless you ask. Unless you ask. You be bold and
Yeah.
risk and ask. Like, hey, I'd love to know your story. I love humans. I love talking to people because we're all so different, but so similar.
I agree. Yeah. Well, Andrew, to close this off, I mean, I can talk to you for hours about this, but to close this
I
off,
know.
I would love
We could be on this.
to.
People are like, I'm not going to watch this 3-hour podcast. Sorry, guys. We're having fun. We love life. We love to
Yeah.
share transformation with other human beings that are open to it so that you can rise with us so that we can heal the collective of this planet.
Conversations. Deep conversation is my lingo. Yeah, so to close this off, Andrew, What are you creating right now? Like, what's exciting right now for you as far as like, I know you mentioned you're a yoga teacher and you're a transformational coach. So like, what are you excited about right now? What are you creating right now?
So many things. I feel like I'm a manifesting generator, so I'm always in the works of creating something. And to the root of everything that I do now is one-on-one coaching. And that is something that I have been doing and I'm stepping more into now because it is 100% what is in my alignment. Because again, I love to get in the trenches with people, like walk side by side. So that is the main thing, that I'm creating one-on-one coaching platform where we get down and dirty and we accomplish the things that I mean want to accomplish, because that's what fills me up. Also, deepening my practice in facilitating trainings right within this community that we are in. And other than that, I could say that's my work life, one-on-one coaching, learning how to facilitate, one day speaking on stages, coming soon to a theater near you. And then as far as like other things, I am in a beautiful relationship with my boyfriend Dylan. We've been together for almost a year. It is because of this deep emotional intelligence work that I attracted this beautiful man into my life. We're about to celebrate a year. We're talking about, getting married, having a house, building a house, whatever that will be, getting a dog. He has three beautiful kids. We're in just building, it feels so good. Building the life that we want to live now, not at 75 years old. And that's it. Transformation, baby. Transformation all day long, every day, in it to win it. That's it.
Love
That's
it.
all that matters. That is all that matters to me at this point in life. Is that people live authentically. People live their lives like there's nothing honor because this is one last thing, I'll say this. There is nothing honorable about living a life that you don't want to live. I don't care and I would be willing to go to bat to that. There is nothing honorable about staying committed to a life that you do not love. There's nothing honorable about that, right? That, well, I have
Mm.
to do this job because it's all that I know, or I have to do this because of whatever reason, but I really want to be doing this. There's nothing, we think that that's honorable. We think as the human race, we think that that's honorable, and it's not. What's honorable is being and living your authentic life. And that's what I'm here to cause and create. That's it. Authenticity, joy, outrageousness, and just having
I
some
love
fun,
that.
having all the fun, having all of the
I love that. Oh my God, thank you for sharing that. That's so exciting. And I have one more question for you.
fun. Okay.
So, what does inherent success mean to you?
Inherent success. Hmm. I don't know. This is a trick question. I didn't know this one was coming. Um, what is the definition of inherent, and can you use it in a sentence? What is the definition? What is the definition of inherent? I'm a student, always learning. What does inherent mean?
Inherent is,
Like, what's the
think,
textbook definition?
that's a good question. Let me look that up.
You should.
We are live, people.
It's okay. Inherent,
Inherently,
existing in something as a permanent, essential, or characteristic attribute.
there you go.
Yeah. So, like, inherent success. It's it is your it is our responsibility to find whatever success means for us. Because it means so many different, that's the other cool thing. It means so many different things to so many people, right? Success to me could be $1 million, a boat, a house, a beautiful husband, some dogs, a farm, some chickens, right? And success to somebody else could mean waking up happy every day. right? So to me, it means figuring out what success means to you and taking full responsibility for that and having that manifest and, happen in your lifetime.
I love that.
So my inherent success and responsibility is transformation, is contributing to world healing person by person until the day that I die.
I love that. Thank you, Andrew. Gosh, this is such a great episode. Thank you so much for sharing your story and just sharing your light and your passion with everyone here. I really do appreciate it. Where can people find you?
You can find me on Instagram, easiest way, at first name, last name. So at Andrew Munroe, MUNROE _. And
Awesome.
that's where I'll be.
Well, thank you again, Andrew, for being a guest on today's episode. I loved everything that you shared. And guys, if you found any value in this episode, make sure to like, share with a friend that can benefit from this episode, and subscribe and stay tuned for the next episode. Thank you.